Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to give folks a few seconds to log in and to share before we get started today with the kitchen cabinet. So just stand by for a few moments while we get everyone on. Let's see. All right. Well, good morning and welcome to Pretty Petty Politics. That's what you know it as. But I'm going to go ahead and announce it. I am pivoting. Pretty Petty Politics is now the kitchen cabinet. And so I'm so excited to be back. I believe this is season 7 of Pretty Petty Politics. It was August of 2018 when Pretty Petty Politics was birthed. And in the past 6 years, we've explored so many things, so many different topics, campaigns, issues, and I could not put it off for any longer. We're back. Pretty Petty Politics is back, and it's back as the kitchen cabinet. So I need you all to repeat it, the kitchen cabinet. As you see, I'm in my kitchen. So, really quick, the reason why I pivoted and changed the name is to combine my love for both food as well as politics. I am a chef or a cook or a caterer, whatever you want to call me. I like the kitchen, but I also like politics. I love them both. And so this is a marriage of politics and food. So on the kitchen cabinet, you can always expect to hear about the culture, food, and of course, politics. In the background, you'll see a copy of my very own recipe book, Not by Bread Alone. No shameless plug. Please purchase if you have not already. It is available on Amazon. So you can purchase that today or whenever you're ready. And if you would like to learn more about me, you can visit my website, and that will show on the screen here in a little bit. Okay. So, again, welcome to the kitchen cabinet. I am your host, July McShay, and I am so very happy to talk to you all this morning about all the things that are happening in the world of politics. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. I have to be my own producer this morning, which is okay because I'm good at it. Jump right on into it. So the first thing is Tim Walz has been announced the VP nominee on the Harris 2024 ticket. A lot of people thought it was Shapiro. I initially was hoping it would be Mark Kelly personally, just considering that is a swing state, and his background being an astronaut, being the husband of a former Congress member, as well as a U.S. Senator, but the nominee is Tim Walz. So, how many of you all were expecting that? I would love to see in the comments who was expecting that to be the nominee, expecting his name to be the one announced as the nominee. I know many people thought it would be Governor Shapiro out of Pennsylvania because things were taken off today in Philadelphia. That had been announced late last week. But from my understanding, the nominee is Tim Walz. Okay. The nominee is Tim Walz. Let me know if someone just texted me and said they can't see it on Facebook. So I'm going to check my own Facebook because I'm pretty sure it's showing. And then it may just have a delay. But nevertheless, I'm going to keep moving on. All right, I see it on Facebook. So hopefully everybody's on there. So let's stop right quick. Before I get into all of the things that are happening politically, go ahead and share. Go ahead and share. And I'm going to drink some water. Go ahead and share. So we're not just going to be talking Texas politics. I am going to talk federal, state, and local. But there's a lot of things locally that I have to discuss. I'm going to get up for a minute because it's a little warm in here because I am cooking because it is the kitchen, right? I'm cooking some soup that is in my recipe book. So go ahead and check the website. See the pot here on the stove. Let me just adjust this thermostat. I am my own assistant. Turn that burner down a little bit too. All right. No, that was so odd, right? Who gets up in the middle of the show? I do. Okay. So, nevertheless, let's get right into it. All right. Let's see. I got some banners here. So, I do have a guest that will be joining me a little bit later to discuss what's going on. But again, for those of you just joining, Tim Walz has been announced as the VP nominee on the Harris 2024 ticket. So it'll be Harris Walz. We'll talk more about that a little later in the show. But I want to go ahead and get into some other things, such as voting. All right. So many of you need to register to vote. Many of you may need to know who's on your ballot. How can you figure out who represents you and all of that? So at the bottom of the screen, you see a ticker with the website and WRM, who represents me, WRM.capital with an O, .texas.gov/home. Okay. WRM.capital, that's with an O, .texas.gov/home. Visit that. If someone could put that in the chat, that website name in the chat, go ahead if you are a Texas resident and look that website up. What it will do is once you put in your home address, it will populate who your representatives are throughout the state of Texas. So who represents you in Congress, who represents you in the state legislature, including the state House and Senate, and who else. It'll also tell you who is representing you on the Board of Education. So go ahead and do that so you'll know who your statewide or state representatives are, whether it's in the state or on the federal level. It's a great tool. I use it almost weekly in my job, but also as I do community work. It allows you to see who represents you. Then once you have their names, a simple Google search will take you to their websites to learn more about them and the issues that they support. Sometimes your representative does not represent the issues that you want to support, and this is your opportunity to fire them or at least try to. And the way we do that is through our votes. So go ahead and check that out. Again, that is for the state level. Locally, if you want to know who represents you, you should check the party whose primary you participate in. So, what does that mean? That means when you vote in the spring, like in March, so the first Tuesday in March, the first Tuesday following the first Monday, typically, yeah. But like this year, March 5th, we voted in the primary. Whether you voted Republican or Democrat, you voted in the primary. So, whichever party you participate in their primary, contact them for your county. So for Harris County, where Houston, Texas is located, you would look up the Harris County Republican Party or the Harris County Democratic Party. Okay. And you would contact them, and they should be able to send you a link that shows you give them your name and address, and they can look you up and they will send you a rundown of all of your representatives for Harris County. Now, I want to say something to you, and I'm going to repeat it probably 2 more times while we're on this morning. But the lower the name is on the ballot, the lower the name is, or the further it is from the beginning, however you want to look at it, those are the names and those are the people that will impact you personally the most. We always know at the top of the ticket is the president, our senators, when it's a federal government election, our member of the House of Representatives. So we know our executive and congressional folks will always be at the top of the ticket when it's a federal. When it's a state election, we know it'll always start with, unless it includes some federal, it'll start with the governor. So if there's some federal involved, it'll start with the House of Representatives, the Senate and the House of Representatives, and then the gubernatorial candidates. That's for Texas. In other states, the governor may always be with the president because every state is different from when their governor runs for office. In Texas, we're not on the same schedule as the presidential election. So our governor won't show up on like the 2024 ballot. Nevertheless, when you go all the way to the bottom, that's the part I want to get to. That's when you get your local elected officials, particularly who we're going to talk about a lot this morning. That's where you will find your precinct chairs. What is a precinct chair? No, it's not like a chair that I'm sitting in right now. But we're going to talk about precinct chairs because the precinct chairs here in Harris County got a big job to do in just a few days. And we're going to talk about that as well. So again, WRM dot capital with an O dot Texas dot gov / that looks like that. So let me go this way / home. Okay. That's where you're going to go to find out who represents you on the state and federal levels for Texas. Now, if you're not in Texas and you live in another state, you can simply visit. This is another tool. You can visit your state Secretary of State for your state. So like I'm from Florida. If I wanted to know this, I could go to the Secretary of State for the state of Florida. Same thing with Alabama, Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, California, DC. Like wherever you are, look up the Secretary of State, not DC. I said that as look up Virginia. All right. So for Texas, it's sos.state.tx.us / elections. If you want to look that up, and you don't even have to do the / part, but you can with the elections. That's how you can learn more about the electoral process for your state. The Secretary of State is a very important agency here in Texas. It is not an elected position. So how does one become the Secretary of State? They must be appointed by the governor here in the state of Texas. In other states, you run for that office. In Texas, not so much. So again, elections are very important. They have consequences, and we're going to talk about those. Oh, I can't wait to talk about those. I'm trying to wait on our special guest before I get into it. But I'm going to just show you some of the things we're going to discuss this morning. Of course, we're going to talk Decision 2024. And I mean from the top of the ballot all the way down. We're going to get into it. While we're waiting on our guests, I want to go ahead and go right into voter registration. So there are four things that I want to encourage you on and to discuss this morning. The first is voter registration. If you are not registered to vote, I need you to get registered to vote today. If you need help with that, drop in the comments help me, and I will help you get registered to vote regardless what county or state that you're in. I will help you figure out how to get registered to vote, but you need to get registered to vote. National Voter Registration Day, I believe, is September 17th or 19th, but that's nor here nor there. We don't have to wait till that day to get registered to vote, but I need you to get registered to vote ASAP, okay? Because things are moving along very, very fast, and the last day to register to vote will be in October, ahead of early voting and ahead of the general election, which is November 11th. Next, I want to talk about voter education. So I will be doing a lot of voter education. I see our special guest is in the backstage, so I'll be bringing him forward shortly. But voter education, I will be doing a series of conversations on voter education. So be sure to stay connected to the kitchen cabinet so that you can learn more about voter education, things that will help you become knowledgeable about the issues, about how to vote, where to vote, because these are things that first time voters don't know. And sometimes people who always vote, they just don't know what to do because the rules change, right? So here in Harris County, Texas, I can vote at any polling location within the county. So if I'm at work, I probably will vote out near my job or even at my job if there's a polling station available on campus. Sometimes I'd rather go and stand in line and do the traditional thing in my neighborhood, but it just depends. So we're going to talk about voter education, where to vote, what the issues are, how to find the issues, how to find what policies your candidates stand for. We'll be talking about that in this season of the Kitchen Cabinet, formerly known as Pretty Petty Politics. Next, we have voter mobilization. So for all you volunteers, you folks who love to like help people, and you're excited about this season, election season, not just summer, not fall, which is coming, but you're excited about election season. You're like me. You love this stuff, right? Voter mobilization will be very important. That is how we get people out to vote. First, we get them registered, then we educate them, then we mobilize them. That could be encouraging people to go vote early. That could be asking people, do they know where they're voting? Heck, it might be, somebody need a ride to vote, and maybe you pay for their Uber or their Lyft, or you drive them yourself, or you need to give them $5 so they can get there. No excuses, folks. We getting everybody to the polls, all right? So if they need $5 to get some gas to get down there, you're going to take care of that. All right. Lastly, I didn't put it on here. Oh, I did put it on here. Voter protection. So there are two parts about voter protection. We're literally talking about our safety as voters. As you know, across the United States, there have been legislation passed, policies passed, where you can't even give somebody a snack and something to drink while they're waiting in line. And if you live in the South or Southwest, it can be very hot, and that could be very dangerous. So we're going to talk about voter protection this season as well. Lastly, before I bring our special guest up, who I'm so excited is here with us, I want to talk to you about volunteering, voter outreach. So as some of you may know, I have previously served as vice president of the Houston branch of the NAACP. I am no longer a member, nor am I an officer, clearly. However, I am still a supporter of the executive director, who is a phenomenal woman, phenomenal organizer and supporter of communities and young people and business people. She just takes care. She's like a fairy godmother to the community. She's a silent warrior, but a mighty warrior, and that's Miss Yolanda Smith. If you would like to volunteer, or your organization to volunteer with voter outreach. The NAACP will be partnering with organizations and agencies throughout the metropolitan area, and they're going to need bodies. They're going to need people who are BDBRs, volunteer deputy voter registrars. They're going to need those folks. And if you need information about that, put that in the chat. Say BDBR. If you want information about BDBR, if you're in the Pearland area, there is a training this Thursday at the Shadow Creek Library on Shadow Creek Parkway. I think it's at 6 p.m. I could be wrong. It might be 6:30, but I'm going to say 6. That way you're on time. Okay. Because it's a 1-hour training. You have to be there for the entire training. So that's this Thursday. If someone is watching and they know those specific details, go ahead and put it in the chat. But to register people to vote, you must be a BDBR. Okay. And once you're a BDBR in one county, you can take that paperwork, that certification, and take it to another county, and then they will certify you in their county. Okay, so I'm certified for Harris and Brazoria County. I think I will be adding Galveston and Montgomery counties. We'll see, because I ain't trying to stretch myself too much, but I do want to do the work. So again, if you're interested in volunteering and voter outreach, or your organization wants to coordinate and partner with the Houston NAACP, please reach out to Miss Yolanda Smith and her email is scrolling across the bottom, branch@naacphouston.org. All right, so take a breath. Said a lot. I am so excited to introduce to you all my friend, a phenomenal organizer, all that stuff, Mr. Darrell Douglas. Darrell, so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to see this. I love the name, the kitchen cabinet, because we got to get back to kitchen table issues in politics. Like that is really what it's supposed to look like. So thank you for having me here.
That's right. I knocked down my other computer. That is right. We have to get back to it. We have to discuss these things in real time. As you know, in our community and our culture, everything happens in the kitchen. You get in trouble in the kitchen. You get loved on in the kitchen. You get fed in the kitchen. But we have rich conversations in the kitchen. And so I want to shout out one of my brothers, big brother / cousin, Joe Briggs. We were talking last week and he gave me the name. I was going another direction or similar direction. Mm-hmm. He was like, no, kitchen cabinet.
This fits. And I love the background and everything. Like, it's perfect.
It's perfect, huh?
And it fits in with your other, for those that are watching that don't know, your other passion. So it's like it merges the two. It's like you have conversations in the kitchen and you cook for the kitchen. Conversations at the kitchen cabinet.
Come on, kitchen cabinet. And so I'm so happy to have you a part of my kitchen cabinet. You know, in politics, the executive branch is made up of a cabinet. You know, these are the advisors, the ones who help move things forward, right? Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to these conversations, you're a part of my cabinet. You're someone I look to for information, you know.
Likewise.
You my black NPR someday.
Look, you probably just gave me my name for my podcast. I may call it the Black NPR.
No, the Black House.
The Black House, yes.
The Black House, baby, that's so strong.
Yes.
The Black House, I love it. But I mean, hey, you know. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you all, this is Darrell. He is the founder of Houston Justice. Darrell, tell us what's been going through your mind these past 2.5, 3 weeks with all these things that have been going on.
We have really gone through it here in the city of Houston. So if we go all the way back.
Hold on, real quick. Are you using your phone?
No, but I hear an echo. I think it may be your computer.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself while you talk.
Okay. So, you know, here in Houston, we've gone through it the past few weeks. We had a hurricane, first of all, followed by, at least for me, 3 days without power. And then it's like, as soon as my power came on, then there was an attempted assassination on Trump. And then it was like, oh, like that happened. And then it was like right after that, you know, Sheila Jackson Lee passed away, and all this talk about Biden stepping aside, and then Biden actually stepped aside, and now Kamala is the Kamala Harris is now the nominee for the Democrats. So it's like we've literally been in shock and awe for the past several weeks, and now there's like a special election, and there's going to be like this replacement of Sheila Jackson Lee on the ballot. And there's just so much going on. It's almost exhausting. Kirby Mack says, yeah, it was very eventful. It's just been a lot. And it's usually a lot just to figure out, okay, who am I going to vote for? Okay, I know the top of the ticket. I know, okay, president, I know senator, I know member of Congress, but what are judges doing? What are county commissioners doing? Wait, what's going on? So now more than ever, July, like this space is so important. And shout out to everybody who is following you right now, because this is how we're going to get information, right? So we got to get the information and we got to get information, right? Because those two things have to go together. And once again, I'm not wearing cufflinks because I walked my dog and I ran up and got, but back to what I was saying, it's been an eventful 2 weeks, and it's going to be, y'all, an eventful several months. I feel like I'm on like season 1 of a Tyler Perry series, and he's really just going off the rails with the writing.
Yeah, I agree. All those things that you just ran down that have happened, literally, what was that? The 7th of July, the 6th or 7th of July, the hurricane, and it's just been downhill since then. I think we lost Sheila Jackson Lee on the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
We lost her on the 19th. She had a beautiful homegoing celebration last week. Oh my gosh. 4 days of celebration.
Yes.
You know, but let's get into that. So I won't even hold you. I won't even lie to you. When I got the call that she had passed, I was like, oh Lord, the vultures are about to come out.
They were flying around. They were flying around. If you own a home and a squirrel or something is dead under your house, like the vultures will let you know. And they were respectful. Some of them were respectful enough to at least wait till the lady was in the ground to announce. But some people, Houston Chronicle, I've been asked, and if asked, I would. Ninja, ain't nobody asked you. Ain't nobody asked you. And it's inevitable. It's inevitable, but it's like, why we always got to be in this position, right? Because it didn't have to be this way. It could all be so simple.
Talk about it.
Right? But you'd rather make it how Lauren said it. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, yes, they're flying around, and there are some expected names. There's some people where I was like, okay, yeah. And there were a couple of them where I was like, okay, when they gonna drop? And then there were some who I was actually hoping would jump in. Okay. There were a couple that I was like, oh, but yeah, very, very interesting crew of people that are in it so far.
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. So you're right. And I have this ticker going because I want people to look up your or Houston Justice. Be sure to check that out with Darrell. We'll be hearing more about that shortly. So she passes on the 19th. Immediately, I'm guilty. I text somebody. I was like, who you think about to announce?
Yeah. But you didn't announce that you were running.
I kind of had my list. Like, if I wanted to, if I had played with Vegas, if Vegas was taking wages, I would have won big. Right? Because my predictions were so spot on.
Yes.
Right? I may have missed 2. Right? I missed Christina Morales.
Okay.
I was like, and I'm still side-eyeing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. If you want to talk about it, you're welcome to come on into the kitchen cabinet, Representative Morales. But I'm side-eyeing it. Yeah. So let's talk about these candidates, and we can start from. I would like to start at the top And to me, the top is Amanda Edwards. And the reason being, not biased because we're sorority sisters, but because Amanda actually had done the work in the district for, let me preface my statement really clearly, for the 18th Congressional District to be their representative or our representative, because I live in the 18th Congressional District of Texas. So she had done the footwork for that. Not she had done it because she did some other job, but she specifically set out last year in 2023, after she so gracefully stepped aside to get out of the way, or to
that's what she did. She got out the way.
Allow the Congresswoman to run for mayor. So let's back up. We got to go back. We got to build this thing up to talk about today, right?
Absolutely.
So the mayoral race, and we really could go back to 2018, but I ain't trying to be messy. 2019, 2018, you know, and we are going to go there because we got to talk about another issue. That's the firefighters. But the mayoral race in Houston was initially Amanda and Chris Hollins, and they weren't the only ones, but those were the ones that were galvanizing voters 50 and under. Let's just call it what it is, right? They were galvanizing voters 50 and under. We know 65 and up voters vote at a higher rate. But if you can capture voters between ages 50 and 35, you can do something. And the two of them were reaching that audience, right? And so they were trying to penetrate the other end, the youth vote, as well as the more seasoned vote, right? We say seasoned since we're in the kitchen. And John Whitmire, I kept telling people, John Whitmire is going to run for mayor. I've been saying this for about the past 2.5 years because I also live in Texas Senate District 15, and his mailers were just too often. You were sending too often, but that was paid advertisement to keep his name in your ear, in your house. You know, he was sending stuff when it wasn't even election season. I mean,
and he didn't even have a serious. Well, he didn't even
never had a serious challenger, right? And he served, by the time he became mayor, he had served in the Texas legislature for 50 years, longer than I've been alive, okay? 50 years. Let's not ignore that. So, so John Whitmire. Then you had the Congresswoman, who served in Congress for nearly 30 years, who had also been a city councilwoman as well as a municipal court judge, right? So we had these people with this longevity running for mayor, and then we had these folks who were, 50 years, Cara, 50 years. Then we had these people who were running for office who were not necessarily new to the world of politics, but their experience in politics was much shorter, shorter, and still is much shorter, right? But those were the two that I know many in that age frame, that 35 to 50, that people were excited about. So Amanda Edwards stepped aside. Chris Hollins stepped aside. Chris Hollins ran for CFO for the city. And so now he's the, I forget what the title is, but
he's the next mayor, basically, but controller.
Controller, there you go. But CFO, if you're talking corporate terms, but he's a controller for the city. And then Amanda stepped aside and she jumped in Congressional District 18. So what her message was when she did that, her message, as far as I'm concerned, was, I believe in the Congresswoman so much that she should be mayor. I'm gonna go ahead and fill her, not her shoes, because you can't fill Sheila's shoes, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and fill out this paperwork, and run for this office so that this office is protected. She had worked for the Congresswoman. She'd been in the city. She's a Houston native. Not that you have to be, because the Congresswoman was not a Houston native, right? She, like me, from out of state, but loved this city, right? Amanda runs. Amanda is looking like the front. She had the front of the race. Then the Congresswoman lost the runoff against John Whitmire in December. on, what was that, a Saturday?
It was a Saturday.
It was a Saturday. And by Monday, she had filed her paperwork to jump right back in Congressional District 18's race.
Yes.
And that just pulled the rug from under Amanda.
Right.
So if I was going to speak with my feelings would say, I feel like Amanda should be the presumptive nominee. Those are my feelings. That's not my opinion. That's my feelings, because my opinion is different. Yes. My opinion is, I'll keep that to myself. My opinion is this, though. I believe that what we're going to hear on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Right? What we're going to hear on Saturday.
Don't write the article and click save so that you can click.
It's going to scare some people, because I think many, and you probably agree with me, many people believe that the voters, those of us who live in Congressional District 18, will be voting to choose who gets to run for the Congresswoman seat. And I keep saying the Congresswoman because that's just how we respect her to that level. Even in death, she will always be the Congresswoman, you know. But Saturday, at the beginning of the show, I talked about the ballot and how the lower it is on the ballot, the closer it is to you. So here's what's close to you: your precinct chairs.
Absolutely.
And your precinct chairs for Congressional District 18, which makes up probably about 200 and so precincts, many of which are vacant. Your precinct chairs will gather on Saturday. They will convene, like we have the DNC coming up and the RNC just ended. They will convene and they will select who will go on the ballot to replace the Congresswoman for the general election for the 119th Congress, which will be sworn in at the top of 2025. That's the first part. The second part is the governor, by law, has ordered a special election to fill the remainder of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's tenure, right? So on the November ballot, there will be two things for Congressional District 18. There will be the 119th Congress, and it will be the remainder of her tenure. So they will basically serve November, all of December.
They won't even serve November because there's going to be a runoff.
You think?
There's no
because there's gonna be so many names.
Listen, my puppy is gonna be in that race. Over here, he's looking for a treasurer right now.
Yeah,
my dog, he's a golden standard poodle. He's making calls. He was at the dog park asking people. So there's gonna be a runoff, and the runoff is gonna be in December. December 5th-ish, somewhere around there. That person is going to win November 5th-ish and serve a month. But then you got Christmas break, you got New Year. So like they're going to serve like 3 weeks. Wouldn't it be a shame if there were two different people?
Yeah. So that date is probably December 7th.
There you go. December 7th.
But yeah, it'll be a shame if it's two people. I hope it's the same person. I think I said this on your show the other night. The reason why I hope it's the same person is because they will go in with seniority. Exactly. You know, they will have, even if it's just a few days, they'll have seniority over all of the new people joining Congress, joining the House of Representatives.
Absolutely.
So
I also, you know, while we're still talking about it, and I think this is a point to look at too, the way that the governor put the special election on the same day as the general election. It was a political move that is going to confuse the voters, because you're going to have to vote in two separate elections. There's going to be the general election where you're voting for president, you know, all the way down, right? Then there's the special election to fulfill the remaining term of the Congresswoman. Just that alone, especially imagine the people who are seasoned and get mail-in ballots. who are not on Facebook, who are not, watching this on YouTube, who will get 2 ballots, who will say, "Oh, I already filled out my ballot," and not vote in one or the other.
It
Right?
sounds like we need to go on Isaiah Carey and we need to talk about this so that those people can know.
Exactly. Because it has confused people in the past. I remember when Jolanda Jones was running for her, and I forget, I think it was like you had to fulfill the remainder of Garnett Coleman's seat, and then it was the actual election, so it was a 2-step thing.
Yeah.
I had people texting me, like, I got 2 ballots, and I'm like, fill out both, right? So that is going to be, and that was strategic because now the top of the Texas ticket is getting more and more competitive every day.
Yeah. So let's talk about the special election. So the special election it differs from the general election, not just because of the term, but who can run. See, in the general election, the only people who can run to fill her seat are people who are Democrats, right? Because she was the Democratic nominee because she won the Democratic primary. The Republican nominee secured her spot back in March, on March 5th, as did the Congresswoman. And unless she passes away, she's set to be on the general election ticket. However, what do we do with, I'm putting this up, voter education? Let's talk about all these people who are fighting to be on that ballot. All right. So, of course, we have Amanda Edwards. We have the mayor. He's still Mayor Turner. Yes. Baby, I do not let y'all get rid of y'all titles. He's forever Mayor Turner. I don't care if he's 95 and I'm still 27. He is Mayor Turner, right? So you have Mayor Turner. You have City Councilwoman Letitia Plummer. You have
Jarvis Johnson.
You have Dwight Boykins. I'm not a fan of him running. I'm not.
Well, I've been waiting in the wings. He's been cutting lawns and doing Facebook posts. He wanted to stay in the game. He like, Coach, throw me in.
Because I still remember, baby. I still remember. But who else? Who else is running? I said Morales is running. She's a state representative. Christina Morales is running. And who else is running for?
I think you named them all.
That's it? All right.
I mean, there's actually way more. I think there's like 14 names left I saw that expressed interest. But literally, you could show up on Saturday, whatever day it is, on the 13th, and you could get and listen, crazier things have happened. Okay,
you're gonna nominate me, Darrell.
Listen, when Elfanko Lee passed away, Senator Ellis took his place. Boris Miles took Senator Ellis's place, and Erica Lee, the Congresswoman's daughter, was running to replace Boris Miles as the state representative. I remember scrolling on Facebook and seeing the Congresswoman at Golden Corral, and I looked at the table and I was counting precinct chairs. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's one. Wait, let me look up what she's one. I counted like 20 of them. I was like, oh, Erica got this locked up. Guess what? Everybody didn't show up on that day, and that's how we got Representative Sean Theory. So hypothetically, someone in your comments could show up and pull a whoosh.
A whoosh. You said Sean Theory, and she had a whoosh too this year.
Ooh, she had a whoosh. So many.
Ooh. That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. And no shade. I'm just calling it like it was, right? Yeah. But you're right. I could decide the Lord can come in this kitchen, turn this pot off. I'm cooking some soup that's in my recipe book, by the way. But and say, you know what? You running for Congressional District 18 for the special election because I ain't doing the full thing. And I'd be like, you sure? And the lights would go off and flash, and I'd be like, okay, I'm running for the special election. But that's the only way it's going to happen, right? Because I don't I don't crave it like people
Mhm.
do. I just like the educational part of it and people to understand
And
it. Go
and
ahead.
I think somebody like you, and I'm not even being funny. I think somebody like you holding that, I think you would squeeze all the lemon juice out of the lemon in that 1 month. Because think about it.
Oh, I would.
It would be an educational thing. I could see you doing posters like, I'm a congresswoman for 1 month, and here's why. Right? I could see you writing a book, My 30 Days in Congress. But think about it. It would educate our people.
Now, I would say
You would be the former congresswoman from the. Think about
I'm
it.
laughing out of nervousness, not at what you're saying, because that is just, oh, that's huge.
And it could happen. Like I could see a world where that happens, where people look at their ballot, because people will do things with their ballot that they won't say out loud. People will do things with their ballot they won't put in the comments. So you got a lot of people who know what's probably about to happen that don't want it to happen. And it's not going to be a secret ballot, right? And I know you're probably going to get into that. It's not going to be a secret ballot with these precinct chairs. It's going to be public. So they're going to get in line. But if you get to go in your booth and scroll a little thing, I'm going to hit July and keep going.
I am not trying to. I got enemies. I'm sure. I ain't trying to create no more. But if I were to run, since we own that, if it were me, you're absolutely right. It would be about education for those few weeks, and I would secure my tickets to the inauguration.
Absolutely.
Check that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can believe that, and I probably asked for tickets for the Easter roll for kids. I got some kids in my life that I would like.
Listen, I want a tour of the White House, Congresswoman. Expedite my passport renewal. Listen, get in there.
Don't y'all call my phone with this foolishness now. Don't let the real boast y'all up now. The only way I'll do that is if the Lord himself says that. He does talk to me, but he said that he done told me some wonderful things, but that ain't one. That is not one. All right. So special election, the special election will be for just a small sliver of time. And it's nothing to take for granted, but it can be anybody. So I want to talk about those people that have filed paperwork for the special election. The names we just named are the bigger names that are on the who have announced for the precinct chairs to choose from on Saturday. And Darrell and I will both be there. We'll probably be with our phones, keeping y'all up to date. All right. Someone just texted me. They want to go to the Easter roll too. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I want a White House tour. Get me in there.
Oh my gosh. I'm not about to play with y'all. But let's go over this special election. There's a guy named Kevin Darrell.
Ooh.
He
like
is
him already. Like his name. I like his last
he's
name.
a Republican. What was interesting as I looked him up, his office where he's receiving mail, his campaign office is in the Woodlands. That is not Congressional District 18. So now I need somebody to figure out where does he live. Yeah. Although you do not have to live in that district in which you're running for. Check that T. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people are unaware that you do not have to be a resident of the congressional district for which you're running for. You need to be a resident of the state.
Yes.
That's it.
You can live in Amarillo.
Listen. And stranger things have happened.
Yep.
All right. Stranger things have happened. So this is not something we can play with. Okay. I need you all to look up who has filed for the special election. But Kevin Darrell is one. Sylvester Turner, Amanda, like the ones we expect to have done it, have. Now, let's talk about something really quick that's not on my list because I just saw it this morning, but it was announced yesterday. You didn't text me to tell me. So Erica Lee and Jason Lee have announced that they are endorsing Mayor Turner to take on Congressional District 18 to be their mother successor, right? That's huge. It's not a surprise though. but it is huge. What would have been a surprise, and what I said I was
hoping
hoping
for. Me too.
I was hoping Erica was going to
know. Listen.
That's what I've been trying to hold in. That's what
Kamala got me going. Erica Lee, oh my gosh, would have been, yes, that would have. I started to feel wick.
I could appreciate it. Someone's like, that's nepotism. It happens. It happens all the time.
Everybody else get to do it.
Everybody else get to do it. Why not us?
So, yeah, and I think here's the thing with Erica, and I don't know if I ever shared this part. I shared it on my podcast the other day. Erica Lee is the reason I got into politics.
Oh,
wow. Literally. So I had quit my job at the prison. I knew I wanted to get into politics. I went to a Young Dems meeting. Erica Lee was the speaker. I didn't even know who her mom was. I volunteered with Erica Lee. She had me everywhere. She had me at TSU, U of A. She had me registering voters. And she invited me to this luncheon where the congresswoman was sitting at her table. And I was like, oh, Erica must be, she got the congresswoman at her table. And then I realized, oh, that's her mom. And she said, Mom, this is the young man that I told you about, the volunteer, super volunteer. And the congresswoman said, oh, yes, young man. I've heard about you. What are you doing? Like, what are you looking to do? And I was like, that scene in The Pursuit of Happiness where Will Smith was like trying, I couldn't even get the words out. I was like, I need what? And she said, and this happened in 2010. She said, she scribbled my number down and she said, be at, the Dem headquarters, which used to be on like 610 Northwest. She's like, be there at 9 a.m. And the rest is history. I wouldn't be talking to you right now had it not been for Erica Lee. And I'll say this, you have no idea who you are doing that for. That you may never even get to meet.
Yeah. Let me turn this stove off.
So we literally at the kitchen cabinet. It's y'all. July is actually cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah, we ain't here.
It's not at first when I first got on, because your kitchen is so beautiful, I thought it was like one of those green screens.
You thought it was a background?
Seriously. And then it was like, oh, you got up and went and stirred your soup. No,
so COVID is going around.
Yes.
And I know a few people with COVID and that are recovering. And people not really talking about it like they need to.
Right.
But they need to talk about it because it's bad. Some people it's mild. But if you're not getting your rest, hydrating, taking care of yourself, you having too much sugar, you're tearing up your immune system. So I made some soup so I could take to a couple of people today just so they can feel better. Look at me serving the community.
See? Not even posting about it on Facebook. She's not taking selfies with the sick people. Like, here, put your head up. Come on, let's get it.
But that's why I'm cooking soup. Plus, it's good, and I like to eat it.
Okay. So it has by your book too.
It has a couple of carrots in it, a half a cup of celery, half a cup of onion. So it has the vegetables in there. It has tomatoes, seasoning, nice herbs, and some chicken.
Good.
Yeah, so it's smelling good. So I went ahead and turned it off so it can just, do its thing. Enough about that. But the recipe is in the book. Let me plug that right quick. Not by Bread Alone, available on Amazon. Check me out. All right. So if you don't have your copy, please get your copy. If you would like to purchase a copy from me, you can. If you want to purchase it from me directly, just put I want a book, and I will get that for you, and I will sign it as well. But I do, for those of you who are not here in the Houston area or that don't know me personally, thank you, Darrell. Go ahead and order that on Amazon, and you will get it quicker than you would get it from me. So, Darrell.
Yes.
The endorsement. Do you think that endorsement will carry him over on Saturday?
I think it will. I think. And let me tell you,
the endorsement to carry over on Saturday.
He didn't need it, but I think it's like any that were on the edge. like it's weird in politics because I have so much respect for both Erica, who and Jason, who I was just texting a few months ago to get Beto's information for this event. And so he's always been a resource. So it's like you dance with the ones who brung you, right? And it's like I'll say this, at least for me, seeing that makes me, I'm always gonna speak my mind, but I'm gonna ease up off the gas a little bit because they have given an endorsement. I'm still gonna talk about it, everything else, and give my opinion, but it's just yeah, that is a order placed, by the way. Order placed.
Thank you.
Yes.
And bring it with you Saturday, and I will sign it for sure.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. So I want to switch gears. We're gonna come back to Congressional District 18 because it's so much. It's so much. But I don't want people to miss out on some of these other things that are going on around Houston. So which one do you want? HISD, HPD, or HFD? Which one you want?
HPD.
HPD. So let's talk about it. HPD has a new chief of police.
Did you participate in the poll? Were you at the community town hall?
No.
About this?
No.
Oh, okay. Did you fill out the survey that the city sent out to see what the community?
Oh, I haven't gotten any surveys from the city. No.
Okay.
And I used to get those things. I haven't gotten it. I did get
none of that. I was being facetious.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I didn't. Because we used to get those things.
Yeah. We used to have and if this happened in another city, there would be uproar. Can you imagine if the mayor of Austin told us who the chief was going to be? We ain't met him, or there was no process. Come on.
So Chief Diaz comes from the great city of Katy, Texas, a suburb west of Houston, between Houston and San Antonio. That when my friends say they coming to Houston and they tell me they in Katy, I'd be like, well, let me know when you hit the loop because I ain't driving way out there.
Yes.
He's now, so I think his police force may have had, I don't know how many officers, but it pales in comparison to the city of Houston. So I hope he's up for the challenge because Katy is in Houston. Yes. You can't police Houston the way you police Katy. The dynamics are different. The cultures are different. This is not the suburbs. You cannot turn this urban city, this third, sometimes fourth largest city in the country, into a suburb. So you're going to have to police it properly. But I heard the mayor say something during that press conference the other day that sent my spidey senses up. He mentioned something about martial law. And if you go back and listen to that press conference, and then you think about what he said on the campaign trail as he ran strongly on law and order. Very strongly on law and order. Yes. Again, 50 years in the state legislature.
Yes.
So don't talk to me about people being too young. Let me get on my soapbox. Let me put this down for a minute. Let me lean in. Don't talk to me about people being too young or not having enough experience. Once someone gets an opportunity, they get to learn and they get to expand. That man joined the Texas state legislature as a 20-something-year-old, college at the time. I think he was a college dropout at the time. Nothing wrong with that, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact that he spent 50 years in the legislature and now he's the mayor of our city, his mind frame is probably more Austin based, meaning the way business is done in Austin versus local. He does not have any experience, since we want to talk experience, he doesn't have any experience in municipal government. I have more experience in municipal government by having worked in city government or having worked in county government. I have that experience, right? but he lacks that. So there are going to be some growing pains. Not saying things wrong with the mayor. I'm not going to say that. You're not going to put me on record saying that. But there will be some growing pains and some struggles because he has 50 years experience in operating
a certain way.
Yeah. On top of that, he's 70 some years old.
Right.
I think 74. Right. So you have the mentality of being a legislator, a very powerful legislator, as well as being of that boomer / silent generation. Mentality is totally different from the average age of your citizens.
Absolutely.
The average age in Houston is not in the 60s or 70s. It's actually under 40.
Yes.
So we're going to see some power struggles. There are going to be some decisions made that are not going to make sense. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for him to partner, as he said, with the what we call the troopers here in Texas.
What is it? The Rangers, the state troopers?
The Rangers. Thank you, because every state don't have Rangers. We're gonna partner with the Rangers more, and the state troopers, and bringing in other agencies that help police. We don't need more policing. We need more resources.
Right.
Discipline does not create correction. It doesn't. As any educator, discipline does not create. Does not change culture. All it does is discipline, right? And it creates a lot of resentment. But there's some resources that are needed in the city, and I hope that the city hall, the city council members, the mayor's office, the directors, that they're looking at this in a very holistic manner, not just what's wrong. Okay, we got high crime because we're not in the top 10 in the country.
Right.
It's bad, but we're not in the top 10.
Right.
It's sold to us like we number 1 or 2, but we're not. Chicago not in the top 10 either, but that's the end of the conversation because y'all know they love to throw Chicago around. However, I am in Houston. I love this city. I'm here. I would like to see some resources sent out into the community to help shape the community, not just more policing. Police are important. They do serve a purpose. I won't deny that, but we also need resources, not resources for the police only, but resources in the community.
Absolutely.
We need more of that.
You made a really interesting point that I hadn't thought about. It's the fact that when you're a powerful legislator in Austin, you don't get dissent very often. Like, no one pushes against anything that you say. And we've seen a few times, and I'm so proud of Councilwoman Tiffany Thomas.
My girl.
Council member Ed Pollard, okay? Who the brilliant, Tiffany Thomas, the way she does it, the power that is in her voice, the eloquence, the shade, okay? If we could just bottle it up and just spray it on the rest of these elected officials, right? Ed Pollard, the way that because there's a way to disagree with somebody where you flip the table over and you listen. No, Ed Pollard is so measured. And I'm so proud to see, like, this is the trend, right? Like, the people that are getting it, this is the trend. And it's very clear going back to this HPD decision. If you've been in the legislature for 50 years, you're not used to running stuff by people or like getting community. Think about this. For all intents and purposes, he represented a state senate district, which was a Black opportunity district, right? In the first place. So, I remember watching the people enter for mayor, and I was wondering when the Republican was going to enter. Usually, you have one Democrat and one Republican, even though it's a nonpartisan office. If you know, you know. I was waiting to see, like, who are they going to put up? And then I started seeing these endorsements roll out from prominent Republicans endorsing Whitmer, and I was like, oh, he's got this sewed up. Because he's already got the coalition. He's got enough of he's got a lot of the Dems, and then he's got a lot of the Republicans. He's going to be mayor. And that's what happened. And we're seeing what happens when someone gets in like that. They're able to make these decisions because they do not feel that there's going to be any pushback or there's going to be any consequences to these decisions that are made. Like, I think it's absurd that in the fourth largest city in the nation, fake it, do a doodle poll, just send it out to everybody and say, what are some qualities you want in a police chief? I'm thinking of this decision and blah, blah, blah. I want your input. Do a Zoom. He could have came on, the kitchen cabinet and done a thing, right? And he didn't. And it's just, you made the point earlier that Katy is 1% of what Houston is. Katy has a population of 25,000. Houston is 2.4 million. That is 100x the size. And if you know anything about business or education, the way you run a school of 100 is not the way you run a school of 1,000 or 10,000. The way you run a classroom, you got 8 kids, we can sit around the table and we could do independent work. Okay, if it's 100 of y'all, there's a totally different infrastructure that has to exist, and he's about to be tested. Last thing on that, I didn't like the cowboy hat at the thing. It sends the wrong message for me as a black man. And listen, I know we're in Houston, but in law enforcement, to wear that cowboy hat, it gives me good old boy, it gives me go and get. And you can't do that in the city of Houston.
Hold on. My computer battery was running low. I had to switch the cord. My apologies. I agree with you. I am, let me put them back up. So I am hopeful that he will bridge relationships and seek out community voices and be, because he does come from a small town,
yes,
right? That he will be willing to get to know those community leaders and not the typical, but some of us who are out here doing the work in various ways who are not waving our hats in the air saying, look at me, we're just doing the work, right? Mm-hmm. I would hope that he would have those conversations, partnerships, and be meaningful about his approach to policing in our communities. Yes. I do want, in case, just by chance he sees this, I do hope he addresses the issue of the practice of speeding in certain communities by law enforcement, particularly HPD. Yes. Speeding in certain communities, ignoring red lights, ignoring posted speeds, ignoring weather conditions that has taken the lives of many Houstonians. Yes. I can think of 3 incidents, 2 specifically with HPD, Scott and Reed Road back in 2021. And just a few, I want to say it's a few weeks later, or maybe it's running together for me, but the Sunday after Christmas on North Shepherd, right? Yes. Where a gentleman was leaving church, headed home, and was killed. I believe his name was Mr. Charles, right? Because people ignoring weather conditions, ignoring red lights, speed limits, speeding like they're responding to a call and being totally off duty. I hope he addresses that, because when Houstonians are killed by other Houstonians, we get this perp walk and all this criminalization. Mm-hmm. But we don't get that same response, because that's not a mistake.
Right.
That's not a mistake that you're going so fast you can't even come to a stop and you speed through an intersection and you hit someone, T-boning them, and they basically die on impact. It's not a mistake to speed, to respond to a call where people are already in custody while it's raining at dusk in a heavily pedestrian community, pedestrian walking community, and you strike Michael Jordan, that's his name, that's the name of the deceased, you strike him, send him in the air, killing him on impact, and you run into, I believe it was one of those garbage can, those big garbage can, those dumpsters.
Wow.
That happened. Reed and Scott Street. I think it was like I had just came back from Miami from Art Basel. It was like the 4th or 5th of December. It was a Saturday. I'll never forget that. And that man was killed. So it's those things that I hope he addresses. That's what concerns the community, how they're treated, how they're spoken to, how we respond. Do we respond to calls? How can I put this? Are we responding to calls in a responsive manner or in a reactive manner? Sometimes it does call for a reaction, but a lot of times it just needs a response.
It really doesn't. You know, there's a lot. I used to work for the Texas prison system, and I was an officer, a sergeant, and then a lieutenant. And what was interesting was, as I moved up, I started to realize a lot of the issues, like the real problems, were from people doing just what you're saying. I think there's a higher responsibility as a police officer. So if it's me and a police officer, I can be unprofessional. I can cuss, I can yell. Not that I would, but like that is within reason. And they should be professional enough to not let that escalate a situation. I also think that, you know how when you're taught to drive for other drivers. Like I drive assuming that everybody is a student driver around me. So even though when I get to the stop, all these stop signs, like when you're going down like Blodgett, Southmore, right? All those stop signs, I assume the other person doesn't see that it's a four-way stop. Or even if I do have the right of way and there's a stop sign, I assume that they don't see it. That is the way police officers should do things. And I think we would have a whole lot less. And I 100% agree on all the points that you made. And hopefully, once he's voted in, unless city council has, you know, if it's tabled or this or that, tabled, by the way, for those of you that are listening, means that like if a council member needs a little more time or wants to put it off a week, they can do that. If his vote goes through, hopefully that's an opportunity to build those bridges, like you said.
And so that vote is today, correct?
Ooh, I didn't even know. It's
Tuesday.
Much. So wait a minute. We new police chief, the ballot thing. What is just too much? Too much. And I think I'm up to date on this thing. So just think about the people who don't like pay attention to this as much. That's why it's so good that you're doing this.
All right. So next we're gonna talk about HISD. We got to talk about it. HISD, the exodus. You see it on the ticker. The exodus of over 4,000 employees in the last school year, and I think it was the Houston Chronicle that had it. Yeah, let me read it to you. An unprecedented, more than 4,000 employees left Houston ISD in June, bringing the total departure since the state takeover. You ready for this number? 10,000 since the state takeover.
They're hemorrhaging staff.
Yeah,
they're just.
Yeah, over 75% of those departures were voluntary. Some were retirements, but most were, I'm out. You know, they're out. So what does that do to the community? What does that say about our future? You know, they're going to be hiring a lot of substitute teachers. So if y'all looking for some change, you know, you want a job, you want to pour into youth, because don't just do it for the money, because it ain't gonna be worth it anyway. Do it because you have a desire to help, but they're gonna be hiring a lot of substitutes because not enough people are gonna have the certification. So HISD has had this mass exodus of employees, And that is something that we can't sleep on. And
Right.
this is because of the state takeover that we saw coming since around
Yeah.
2018,
Yes.
2019.
Yes.
You know, that COVID kind of put it off a couple of years, but we knew it was going to happen. If you ever read some of those reports and
Yes.
some of the foolishness that was taking place amongst those elected officials
Yes.
who were elected to protect and trusted with the health of Houston Independent School District, and some of the foolishness they did. I don't have to name names, you Google.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this is the result. And now we have Mike Miles, the superintendent, the appointed superintendent, who was appointed by the governor, who was ran out of Dallas, who spent some time in Colorado, and now he's here, and he has been scrutinized, and many people will call him the boogeyman. I've heard that used. I've never met him. But I have seen and read enough to know that this is a dangerous precedence that is taking place here in HISD, being the largest school district in the state and one of the largest in the country. This is a very dangerous precedence that we're experiencing here. On top of the legislature, come on, somebody, which takes place, the next convening of our Texas legislature is next January, which is considering vouchers, taking public dollars and putting them into private schools. HISD, parents, taxpayers, citizens, under the sounds of my voice, do not sleep on what's happening in HISD. You need to be vocal as you're looking at local people running for office. If they're running for state office, Senate, or House of Representatives, you need to be on their tail, asking them what are they going to do to protect those students and educators and staff members and the continuity of HISD. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Carr says it's going to pass. The governor has already set it up. And I agree. It's going to pass. Likely 98% chance of passing, but we still have to talk about it. We have to bring attention to it, and it doesn't have to pass though.
Right.
It doesn't have to pass. Also, to that point, the legislative agenda will drop sometime this month, so be looking for that on our page. We're going to introduce a new page called the Kitchen Table with July McShay. So Pretty Petty Politics will slowly dissolve. I won't take it off, but you won't see all of the new content after a while. It will just be on that one page. So I will let you know when to follow those new platforms, but just FYI on that. All right, next. Still in Houston. Houston Fire Department. We saw this coming. Because he made this promise when he was running. You got to listen to people what they say when they run for office. Because they tell you what they're going to do. And that's one thing about John Whitmire. He is doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
So, $650 million settlement for a Houston Fire Department. Now, do I want to see firefighters be paid a fair wage and what they deserve? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I said this on this platform back in 2019 during the previous mayoral election cycle. Yeah. Just like I had said the previous year before that the white Boykins was going to run for mayor. And people was like, no, he's not. I'm like, they were like, he ain't going to run against his frat brother. He going to run against
Look at the writing on the wall. Look at how
do y'all not hear what he's saying in those council meetings? So you have to listen to people. Council meetings are available online. You can watch them. You can hit the playback. You do not have to watch them live. But I knew he was going to run, and he did run. Oh, I announced that at the beginning.
I missed it. Okay.
We'll come back to it. We got a few minutes. We're going to drop off at 10:30. So we got about 41 minutes. But $650 million settlement. Now, the previous administration was fighting this, not fighting it. And I don't think they were fighting it because they didn't want the firefighters paid. They were fighting it because they knew how the money was set up. They knew the money was going to be funny. So now this administration, I will say Chris Hollins fought it. And I think right before the fiscal year or the budget was necessary on my birthday, July 1st, he went ahead and signed off on it. Again, comptroller. But what that means is, y'all know, y'all do the budget in y'all kitchen. You know how much coming in. You know that if something big happens, that something else is going to miss out. So taxpayers, citizens, beloveds, I ask of you, are you prepared for the burden that awaits us behind this settlement? That's the first thing. Secondly, let me get on the city council members, particularly District D. And that's my sorority sister. But we got to talk about it. I need leaders in District D. I don't live in District D, but I need leaders in District D, as well as county officials that represent those who live along the southern part of the Beltway between Missouri City and the airport. I need you all who represent those folks. I need you all to do some wheeling and dealing with some grocery stores and with some shopping center developers to bring resources into the city of Houston at the most southern portion of the city, because what we're going to need is a tax base. And I can tell you, all of my friends who live along the Beltway on the Houston side, they spend their money in Brazoria County, in Pearland. Therefore, Harris County and Houston are missing out on a lot of tax revenue. It's not just their groceries, gas, Target, Walmart, shopping. We're missing out on that. They're going to the restaurants over there. We've got to do some development. This is something I learned working for the city of Birmingham. My mentor used to be on me about where I shopped, because if it's not the city of Birmingham, we lose the money to other areas, and you wonder why their districts are doing better. Why Pearland ISD and Alvin ISD have more money and resources than our very own HISD does for the students it serves. It's because of the tax base. So just a kind ask to those county commissioners and leaders that represent those areas, not to have called Dr. Shabazz out like that, but she is the councilwoman for District D, so it impacts her, as does, I think it impacts Kay to an extent, the mayor pro tem, right? Martha Cassix Tatum. It impacts their districts, but it also impacts Congressional District 9. It also impacts some senatorial state Senate offices, Boris Miles, right? So we need to see some development. We need to shop for some developers, and we need to begin to negotiate what incentives we can offer them to bring their businesses. You know, what tax break do you give them for a period of time so that they can bring in these businesses, which brings in jobs, but also returns that tax base to our city. I'm gonna get off my soapbox because we're gonna need some money to pay $650 million settlement on top of all the storms and infrastructure and other things that the city needs already. Ain't talking about it. So here at the kitchen cabinet, we're gonna talk about it. So if I just poured some salt, we in the kitchen.
Yeah, and to your point about it, you know, the HEB that's right on 288 and McGregor, and that's what I was doing is I was looking as you were speaking. I would point to that, and I would point to the expansion at Hobby Airport. So this was back in like 2012 or so. The folks at Southwest wanted to expand Hobby Airport for their new international terminal. And a group of organizations and individuals that I got to be part of, we came together and said, okay, before this vote happens, this is what incentives could look like for the community, right? Who's getting the jobs, who's getting those contracts, and not just following the default setting of MWBE. No, like what can Houston Community College get? What can TSU get and become stronger because this thing might happen, right? The neighborhoods around it that are now going to get even more, noise from international flights coming in and out. We have to start thinking like that and understanding there's a whole lot that comes with these decisions that are made. And when you have developers that are coming to the planning commission, asking to build, asking to build homes, right? Like there are different incentives that I think the city needs to push. Not only the city, but the community members that live there need to push for. And to your point about that area down there, I was actually looking for a place like in that area, right? And I did searches first, and then I reached out to some people and I said, hey, I'm looking for a residential, something that I can call a black house, okay? That's in this boundary for a certain reason, right? And what they sent back, I was like, oh, I can't do that. So, but I say all that to say, those are the things that people think about. Like, if there's no grocery store, then they're not going to build around, like, and I don't want to take up too much time, but a lot of people don't know McDonald's is not in the food business. McDonald's is actually in the real estate business. Second only to the Catholic Church. They own more real estate in the world than any other entity. And if you notice what McDonald's does, they put a McDonald's in the middle of nowhere, and they put those golden arches up high in the air, and people start exiting, right? Now you got traffic. Then what happens? Now there's a gas station right there because now it's an exit, right? And then they build, maybe, they start to slowly expand. And then since McDonald's owns that land, they own all the land around it, right? They didn't just buy that little thing. They bought the whole swath. So when they start building those houses, think about places like Manville. Didn't nobody used to live in Manville, right? But if you had bought all that land, it's worth so much. Pearland used to be a drive. Pearland is basically in the city now. Everything is growing. So I say all of that to say there's a whole lot that goes on with all of this. And we the people need to have a say in the decisions that are made.
Absolutely. And one of the ways we have those says is by attending city council meetings.
Yes.
You may need to find out when your city council meeting is. I'm focused on Houston. I live in Houston, right? And Houston drives this entire region. It drives Southeast Texas. It actually probably drives the state of Texas, but I ain't gonna fight with the Dallas folks today. Howsoever, you need to know who your city council member is. I talk to people, they don't know who represents them on city council. They don't know what a county commissioner is. They don't know what, they think Lena Hidalgo is a black robe wearing judge, right? So that's the kind of things that we're going to be talking about on this season. It's going to be rich in education, so that you understand who these folks are. In our next episode, we're going to talk about the district attorney's office. Yes, we are, and the district attorney's race.
Yes.
I got to have you back for that.
Yes.
Okay. Absolutely. But I'm glad you mentioned those things that you pointed out, Darrell, because I don't think that we consider them like we should. I don't know that we consider the impact of those decisions. I don't think that people realize that they have a say, that they have a voice, but you do. You're funding it. We are the government. You remember being in middle school or elementary school, you had to learn the preamble, right? We the people.
Yes.
We are the government, right? We make up the government. We are how the government gets to exist. The people we send to Washington, to Austin, and to City Hall We don't work for them, they work for us. We give them their jobs and we can take them away.
Absolutely.
We've got to be cognizant of that.
It,
Go ahead.
and to that same point, like I remember working for a state rep, and when a constituent came in, or when somebody called and they gave, like, I live in the district, it was like, oh, like this weighs heavy, because they know not only is this someone who lives in the district, but this is someone who's engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who calls the office, you could just assume these are people that are thought leaders in their community, right? Same thing for business. The person who fills out the contact form, oh, they could take you down, because if they're doing this, that means they also, right? So be that person. And pro tip, I had an issue with HPD, went up there, tried to resolve it. And so instead, I put my name on public session to speak, because I know what was going to happen next. And I'll let y'all in on a pro tip. I got a call from HPD Public Affairs. How can we resolve it?
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because they don't want a citizen coming down there and spilling their mess.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some different avenues, and that's why I'm so thankful that you're doing this, because we're gonna get information while we get information.
Yes, we are. So let's talk about Decision 2024. At the top of the show, we talked about it, and then you just showed us Tim Walz has been named the VP nominee for the Harris 2024 ticket. So it'd be Harris Walz. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was piping hot tea for like a week, and we just dropped some ice cubes in it. But sometimes you got to do that for people. Like, I like HEB Nitro Cold Brew. No, they are not sponsoring the kitchen cabinet, but I like cold coffee, because hot coffee is too piping hot. So maybe maybe she can grow her audience by making it a little more salvageable for people.
All right. So the announcement has come out again that Walz is the VP nominee for the Harris ticket for 2024. Unless you've been under a rock, because even if you were in space, you would know this, that President Biden stepped out of, he withdrew from re-election, and he strongly endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, a lot has been said, a lot has been done, a lot of money has been raised, a lot. That is the theme of Summer 24, a lot. Who did that song? 21 Savage? A lot.
Yeah.
He could remix it about July 2024, because a lot has occurred, right? A lot. So I want to talk about Biden stepping away. I'm going to take this ticker down, wherever it is. Biden stepping down, and although we seen it, we know what happened. Let me tell you what happened before he stepped down, for those who may not be aware. Prior to him stepping down, after the debate, conversations, very high-level conversations, expansive conversations amongst Black women leaders around the country began to take place. There were text messages, there were Zooms, there were group meetings, there were conversations done somewhat very organized. Let me just use that word, right? And then a letter was written. The letter that was written to make sure that those women, us women, me, Black women, that we were not left out of the conversation, and that people understood who carries elections in this country. Whichever way Black women vote,
yes.
And when Black women vote heavily,
yes,
happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It happens. It happens. You can add the shush to it if you want to, but it happens. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was critical. I was publicly critical of President Biden because I felt as though he should have resigned out of office and let her go into the general election as President Harris.
Yes.
I
It's not
still
too late.
stand by
It's
that.
not too late.
I still stand by that.
Me too.
Because if you choose someone to be your vice president, you're saying that they're ready day one if anything happens to me.
Mm-hmm. Never thought about it that way.
When you choose your Secretary of State,
Mm-hmm.
when you choose your Secretary of Defense, when you choose your cabinets, you're saying that they are equipped, your cabinet members are equipped not just to do their job. Like in this cabinet, I have my seasonings.
Yeah.
And they're going to do their job well together, right?
Yeah.
But if there's only one season left, it's fit to do the job.
Yes.
Right? And so when you formulate your cabinet, you're not just choosing a person to do a job, to run an agency, to run GSA, to run Homeland Security, to run defense or run justice. You're also saying that I believe in them so much that they're in the line of succession, if need be, to take my spot. And I need people to understand that. So we're going to talk about the line of succession. We got a lot of education going to happen on the kitchen cabinet. I just need y'all to be prepared because these things matter.
You know what could have been a really good move? Because as you were talking about that, I was like, okay, if he had announced, because it's dissonance, it's cognitive dissonance to say, I'm stepping aside for the general out of the way for whatever reason. Step aside, period. Because here's what would have been great, because as you were talking, I was like, but then we would have to choose a VP. Imagine if he's totally stepped aside, Harris was able to choose her VP, so we have a sitting president and a sitting vice president that are now entering the general election. And it's gonna take, I wrote this piece the other day, and I need to stop putting my long pieces on Facebook and going and like get a blog somewhere. But I wrote this piece because people don't read on like that on Facebook. But I wrote this piece about the sexism that is revealing itself. And I pointed to two things. Number one, a lot of people, as they were talking about who the VP might be, were saying, oh, well, it can't be this person or that person because she's already a woman. So it's got to da-da-da-da-da. So women, Governor Whitmer of Michigan, who could have, brought Michigan in, and other places, were totally written off because you can't have two women on the ticket. Well, if you look back to 1776, it's never been a problem to have two men. People didn't bat an eye, but all of a sudden, there's a problem. Second point that happened this past week, as a matter of fact, the NABJ, Trump went to NABJ, and Uncle Roland Martin, who, listen, great, but I disagree with him on one of the points that he made. He made the point that there were no black men on that stage. Uncle Roland, for years, that stage has had nothing but black men, and we didn't bat an eye. So for once, it's all black women, and there is a problem. And that in itself is a problem.
I thought you was going to keep preaching. Talk about it. Talk about it. But what you're saying is absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I'm glad you pointed those things out. So, folks, as we approach Decision 2024, we got a lot of things that we got to cover. Again, I'm going to put the ticker up there. If you don't know who represents you, you can use this website. If someone wants to type that in the chat, wrm.capital.texas.gov/home. That is who represents me, and it will generate for you, once you put your home address in, it will generate for you who those representatives are from the federal and state levels for you. If you're looking for your local representatives, you need to check with the party whose primary you participate in. Now, if you are a independent, not just in words, but true independent, meaning you don't participate in a primary election, then you need to look it up on both the Republican and the Democratic websites to know who your representatives are. Because I think there may be some overlap sometimes. So that's why I recommend people do both if they are a true independent. And what I mean by true independent, you do not participate in any party primary. So if you vote in March, you voted in a primary. You've chosen either a Republican or a Democratic ballot. And so by default, you are a member of that party until you stop participating in a primary. In Texas, we do not declare party affiliation when we register to vote. We declare party affiliation when we participate in a primary election. All right.
And to that end, if people are wondering, why am I getting these texts? Why am I getting these calls? Okay, there's the voter file is public, and there's a thing called VAN, Voter Action Network, that campaigns basically get access to. And so if I'm running for, like, say whoever's running, if we actually had an election in the 18th Congressional District, you can actually go in and you can sort. You can make a list. You can say, okay, these are all the voters. Well, I don't want to send a mailer to all the voters, or I don't want to text all the voters. I want to send a message, or I want to send a mailer to people who voted in the last Democratic primary. So that's going to take your list down. It's going to sort a little more. Okay, still too big. Okay, I want to send it to people who voted in the last 3 primaries. Boom, now you got a targeted list, and those people are going to get hit the hardest because campaigns know those are reliable voters. Those are the voters. This is the way campaigns look at it. They say if you voted in the last 3 primaries, not the general that's in November, but if you voted in primaries, you're going to vote. So I'd rather spend my time talking to you than somebody who maybe voted here or there. So if you ever wonder, how do they know who I voted for? Or here's a second pro tip. When people talk about either polling or during election season, so when early vote starts, you cannot tell who people voted for, but it is absolutely public information who voted, right? So if Darrell Douglas voted in the Democratic primary, I can assume if he voted, he's voting for Harris. If John Doe voted in the Republican primary, I can assume they voted for Trump. And you can literally see who in this primary and that primary have voted so far. And you can see like what the trends are and this and that. And there's some last minute stuff that happens. There's some last minute, we got to get an ad out because da-da-da-da-da. Or this worked well, or crank it up on the phones, crank it up on the texts. And so I'd love to get into some of that too, because that's what I do for my day job at the Black House, stuff like that.
Stuff like that. I love it. And I'm glad you mentioned that. So we got a couple more things before we close out today. This has been rich. Yes. This has been so good. This is a great welcome back, y'all. I've been trying to wait on my logo, and I was like, the Holy Spirit, it wouldn't even be. The Holy Spirit was like, it's time.
Because so much is happening.
No, I was like, seriously, it's time. Yes. So it's the first week of August, and so we're back. You know, Pretty Petty Politics is now the kitchen cabinet. We're back. We're talking about what's going on. And so I just wanted to share a couple of things with you as we prepare for decision 2024. All right. So earlier in the show, we talked about voter registration, voter education, voter mobilization, and voter protection. Down below on the ticker, you will see that you can contact Yolanda Smith at the NAACP if you would like to be a volunteer. I know we belong to many organizations, but nothing is wrong for having an umbrella to kind of help disseminate, because the information and resources that she receives on a day-to-day, she'll be able to direct you. That's how Darrell and I engaged. It was through our work in the community, but it was under the umbrella of Miss Yolanda.
Absolutely. And I'll do anything for her. And I'll get, let me make that clear. Any engagement that the NAACP gets from me will be because of
Yolanda.
like, and I will be engaged because at the end of the day, we got to get information, and for the greater good, everybody got to be on the field. I know some of y'all done put your cleats up, you done put your trumpet in the thing. We need y'all to get ready for halftime. You got to play in the stands. Dust off the pom-poms. We need you down there doing that. Everybody's got to get in because there is so much, and it feels like we have to sprint this last 90, 80, whatever it is.
80 some days, yeah. We are, it's not even a marathon. It's like a relay at this point. And it's baton time. Yes. So we got to, like he said, we have to be information, and we have to spread information, the correct information. And one way that we do that uniformly is to partnerships and have community. And this is a trusted civic leader, she has over 20 years in the community doing this great work, organizing. She serves on various committees across the city, across cultures. Yes. She is someone that your leaders trust. She's someone that people call on in the midnight hour. She's there to answer the phone. And so I give her flowers all the time. I love Miss Yolanda. I don't play about Miss Yolanda. I probably would fight you and your mama about Miss Yolanda. And don't play with it, because all of the Florida gonna come out of me, okay? I do not play about Miss Yolanda. And it's because she does not play about us. She takes care of us. She's the sweetest, kindest, and thoughtful, yes. And she's very serious about taking care of our community, and not just one area, but the whole thing, the whole region. And that's why she's always supported so well from various areas. You can say what you want to say about elected leadership in the NAACP, but there is the executive director who is
really doing the work,
who really takes care of that Houston branch and carries it, because leaders will come and go. There have been multiple administrations she's worked with as executive director. But as executive director, she's what's those things in the house when you build? I can't even think. I don't even have a word.
Foundation, the columns.
She's the foundation. She's those columns, those beams. That's what I'm looking for. Yep. She's those beams. She's what holds up each floor, each level.
You just gave me an idea.
Child. So anyway, there's the email. I'm saying a lot, but I need you to understand. Sororities, fraternities, community organizations, PTAs, whether you're a business owner, whatever, you're a podcaster, influencer, we want to send the same uniform message. This is nonpartisan. Let me be clear. But we want to, meaning it's not one political party over the other. We're going to give the good information, the true information about how to vote, where to vote, how to get registered to vote, what to do if you're harassed while in line. We're going to give you all of those tools, but you need to be tapped in. And so I want to make sure you're connected to Miss Yolanda for that. I can hide that now. So with Decision 2024, as we get ready to land this plane, Darrell, tell me, what are you most excited about with this upcoming election? Prior to, let me say this.
Yes.
Outside of the Congressional District 18 and outside of the presidential race, what are you excited about?
I'm excited because those who are in organizing or in the movement will know what I'm talking about. You get very few moments like this, and they are finite moments. It is a defined amount of time that you have while people are paying attention to the process. People are paying attention, and people are ready to throw their hands in and work together. And I think regardless of what happens on November the 5th, the real measure and the real takeaway becomes what was built, what relationships happened, what organizations were contrived, what happened because of this moment? What education happened? I think about the very first, 20 years ago, literally, I was in Mr. Schetzer's government class at Westbury High School, and one of our assignments was to watch the RNC and the DNC, and two people stood out to me because I never paid attention to politics before. That's what brought me, before Sheila Jackson Lee and Eric Lee, this is what made me even pay attention. And I remember at the DNC, those of y'all who remember, Barack Obama gave the keynote address. And when I tell you, I was like, who is this ninja? Okay. Second person. And y'all know I'm also a Detroiter. I saw Kwame Kilpatrick with his beard, right? Who's this black man with the beard and swagger? Speaking of wait, he's the mayor. Okay, is he the mayor of like College Station or Sweeney? No offense, College Station or Sweeney. But, no, he's the mayor of Detroit. Wow, that inspired me. And that same thing that lit the fire under me is going to happen to so many people of all ages in the next 80-something days. And that is what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I love that. And Kwame Kilpatrick has a very,
yes,
his path has.
Listen, let me tell you, and it's one of those interesting things, kind of like with Ron Reynolds when Ron had his, listen, you dance with the ones who run you. And I know it's just certain people who I can't see the bad in, because, you know what I mean? Where I just can't, I can see it, but I'm like, And so Kwame, he's another one where I'm like, yeah, I'm like the grandma that's at the probation meeting, like, but did he do this? And so yeah, I'm just super excited about that. And I'm super excited. Y'all, this is history in the making. I really think July has the potential to be one of those voices. Like, July should be on CNN panels. July should be, and that's why I'm so, like, I knew you had it in you, but it's like, oh, you're bringing it back out. That is another thing that I'm excited about, because this is the first episode. Oh, I know. Listen, the fire is coming.
Yes, it is. And thank you so much. The fire is coming, and we ain't burning nothing down, but we are refining things, because the fire refines. Okay. Yes. We're not destroying nothing.
We're not right. Y'all see, I got on a collared shirt and a jacket, right?
My pin curls out.
So it's like everyone is coming in, like we're playing chess now. It's like we're playing chess. We're seeing how all the pieces connect. And yeah.
All right. So if you are not following online, Darrell, go ahead and put in the chat how they can follow you, how they can support Houston Justice, all of that. I want to hear about Houston Justice a little bit so people will know. And while he's doing that, I'll go ahead and plug myself. Of course, I am the author of Not by Bread Alone. I am not ashamed to plug myself. Where is my website? Yeah, right there. That is my website. You can purchase Not by Bread Alone on Amazon today. If you need to know what the cover looks like, it's right there behind me. All right, you see, I got all my, that's what you do. It's your place, right? So go ahead and order that today. That's one way that you can support me. Of course, as the kitchen cabinet continues to matriculate, so to speak, out here in these social media streets, more information will be coming about the kitchen cabinet. You can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'll put that here. That's a way to follow me to get more information. More information will be going out to you. All right. And if you like food and you want me to cook for you, or you want a charcuterie boxes for your office, your staff, back to school for your kids' teachers, hit me up. I can do that. There is a fee for delivery, but we can work on those things. But you got to reach out to me. So DM me on Instagram if you're going to DM me. That's the best place to private message me, is through Instagram. And it's the same on both Facebook and Instagram. If you have my number, you can text me. All transactions are through credit or debit card through my website, Square, not no Zelle, not no Cash App. So I'm not going to ask you for that. And I'd rather you put it in that way. Yes. Okay. So Darrell, go ahead.
I put it in the comments, but I think you have like links and stuff disabled. But it's because I put links. It says
no, you put it in the private comments.
I put it in the public one too, but it says this comment has failed to post to Pretty Petty Politics. I guess because I put like links. But I also put my Twitter. I put my Twitter, my IG in there as well. I have some, I don't know. Would the DNC be considered partisan, like a watch party? Would that be considered partisan?
It would be if you did not do the other one. If you're a nonprofit, I would stay away from it. But we can discuss it on here.
I'll use a different hat and we'll do it
a different hat. Yeah, just use a different hat.
I asked.
Yeah, you gotta know. You wanna tell me what is that? I can put it up on the screen. What is your website?
I put it up. I copied and pasted it in the private chat too. I put my IG and everything. Do you see it?
Oh yeah, copy.
Mm-hmm. And the text and stuff too. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. I will be using your services for a planning meeting coming up that I'm gonna have. So I'm so glad to know that that is also what you do. So I didn't know that. I thought it was just the book and I didn't know that you actually can order stuff for a meeting. So we will definitely be doing that.
Yeah, you never seen my charcuterie boxes, baby? They bussin'.
Gotta do that.
Bussin'.
Yes. Okay.
Bussin', yeah. Well, listen, guys, it has been great to be on here this morning with my brother in the not the struggle, but in the fight for justice.
Yes.
I'm so elated to have you here as we continue with doing this great work. I want to encourage you all. Let me hide this. I want to encourage you all to follow. You can follow here on Pretty Petty Politics, of course, for right now. In the coming days, you will see a new page populate, and I will be encouraging you, and I'll be building up that followership. I'll encourage you to follow there, but I will continue to post here until after a few months, and then it'll just solidly be the kitchen cabinet. So here's what you need to do. You need to check to make sure you're registered to vote. Do not wait. Do that right now. Do it as you hear the sound of my voice. Put that on your things to do list for today. All right. Make sure you're registered to vote. Also, make sure that you know where you can vote. Okay. Make sure you know where you can vote. A lot of people, let me talk to you. Let me lean in. A lot of you have moved, myself included, since the last election. Make sure you update your address with your county clerk's office, right? You want to make sure you update your address because your representation may have moved. It doesn't matter that you moved around the corner. I literally moved around the corner and everything changed. I am no longer in Congressional District 7. I am now in Congressional District 18. So I had the pleasure of being under the Congresswoman for about 3.5 months, right? So you need to make sure that you update your voter registration if you have moved within the time that you last voted. So if you bought a house, you used to live in Houston, you now in Brazoria County or in Fort Bend, you need to change your voter registration. Because I know you want to still have a pulse on what's happening in Houston, so using your mama, your big mama address. Stop doing that. Stop breaking the law, number one. Stop doing that foolishness. Secondly, you need your vote to be where you lay your head down, because that's what's going to impact you. Where you lay your head down, those offices, those are the ones at your front door, not the folks we send into Washington, D.C. Your precinct chairs, like the folks who will gather on Saturday morning to decide who will go on the ballot since the death of the Congresswoman, those people are elected. All right. Mine is called, her name is Noelle McSherry. Noelle and I about to be good friends. She's going to be
resign unless you have it.
Right. But you need to know who your precinct chairs are. Y'all, this is a serious, serious matter. I'm not just saying that because I'm a pretty girl wearing 20 pearls with pink and green. I'm being very serious. This is a serious matter and we cannot play with it. No matter what color, what affiliation you got, we can't play with this. All right. I need you to make sure you are registered to vote for the address, which is your residence, where you are paying rent or mortgage. Okay, your primary residence. You need to make sure that you are registered to vote there. You need to make sure everyone who is 17, who will be 18 by the time of November 5th, that they are registered, and every other adult in that household who is not a felon that still is on probation or on papers. If you are off papers, or if you have a cousin, brother, sister, auntie, uncle, you know somebody, they work with you, whatever. If you know somebody who has been a convicted felon that is no longer on papers, they're no longer on probation, they paid all their fees, send them to me so I can get them registered to vote, okay, for the state of Texas. Send them to me, all right? Or if you are a BDVR, you get them registered to vote. But we need all of our folks registered to vote. And then you're going to start sending them these videos each week so that we can know what we need to do. And I think we're going to do twice a week. I'm not sure yet. I am committed to one day, but I think we're going to do twice a week because there's so much to be said and so much to learn. Darrell, I thank you for coming out. I thank all of you for joining in, for sharing, for watching, and for taking the time to share this information. And of course, for following. This is the Kitchen Cabinet. And we'll see you next time. If you need to order something or you need to talk to us, you got our information. Peace. Be safe. Darrell, don't leave.
Okay.